When you're tired of all the choices out there and you don't know what to do, you can kick back and watch Tall Guy Eric Reviews.
What's going on, guys? Tall Guy Eric Reviews back with another video, and this one I'm extremely excited about. This is the new 27-inch 1440p OLED monitor from LG, and this is a very highly sought after monitor. There's a lot of people who are looking for reviews on it or who are waiting for theirs. I was fortunate enough to get a pre-order a little earlier than I should have, so thankfully I was amongst the first people to have mine shipped. And I've been using it for about a week now. And I'm going to give you guys my thoughts, what I love about it, what I don't love about it, and do I think that you should use this over the other monitors on the market. So a little bit of background, and then I'm going to show you guys some gameplay footage. I've used pretty much every monitor you can think of in the past year. If you've watched my review videos, you know that I've tried pretty much every OLED monitor there is. I've tried both of the Alienware QD OLED monitors. I've tried all of the OLED TVs. I recently used the Cooler Master GP27U for about a month and a half. That was actually my main monitor before I got this, and I definitely feel like I've used this monitor enough to kind of put it up against the other monitors and kind of give my thoughts on how I feel about it. So first of all, this is a 1440p panel. There's going to be a lot of people that wish it was 4K. I am in that boat. I have a 4090, so I can drive 4K no issue. I do wish it was 4K, but I don't mind that much. 1440p to me is still beautiful, especially on a 27-inch display. I use the Alienware, and that's 1440p, and I thought that was even fine. So unfortunately, I didn't get to post the review of the Alienware that I made because I lost the footage for it, and I didn't keep it long enough. I had a few issues. I actually ended up going through 4 of those monitors, so it just got to the point where I was like, I'll just wait for the LG because I had it pre-ordered. But this thing is unbelievable. It is the fastest monitor I've ever used, I've ever seen. I've tried every 1440p, 240 hertz, and 270 hertz monitor that I can think of. I have not tried 360 hertz, but I would go as far as to say that this is probably more comparable to a 360 hertz monitor, just due to the fact that OLED is so fast that a 240 hertz OLED monitor feels and looks faster than a 240 hertz IPS panel, or even a 240 hertz VA panel, because I've tried the G7 and the G8 Neo as well. And while those monitors felt unbelievably fast, this is just on a different level. I'm going to play a little and show you guys kind of how it looks. Obviously, it's not going to look as good on camera as it would in person, since this is 60 FPS versus the 240 that I'm seeing, but it can kind of give you an idea of the motion clarity and just how fluid everything is. Do bear with me. I'm playing mouse and keyboard, and I'm sitting quite a bit behind my camera as well as behind my microphone, so I'm extending my arms very far to make this work. It is awkward, but it is what it is. But you can just see everything is just so smooth. There's no screen tearing, there's no ghosting, there's no judder. It's just instantaneous and beautiful, and I truly respect LG for doing such a good job with their first 27-inch monitor, or 27-inch 240 hertz OLED, since they do have a 27-inch 4K 60 hertz OLED, but it's like $4,000, so I'll never try that. But this monitor is just incredible. I've had such a good experience with it so far. I've played a lot of competitive shooters. I've played a ton of Apex. I've played a pretty decent amount of Call of Duty. I've played an unbelievable amount of offline games. So, some Skyrim. I've been playing a lot of Final Fantasy VII, Crisis Core. I've just played a lot of single player games to kind of put it up against, like, is this a good enough experience for everything to call it a universal monitor? And I'll go ahead and answer that. The answer is absolutely yes. I don't really find myself missing 4K that much, just because of how great this monitor is, because it has damn near everything I've always wanted in a monitor, all wrapped in one. The actual looks of the monitor, it's gorgeous. It does have some pretty thick black bars around the monitor, but that is because it aside from the small little notch on the bottom, which houses the IR for the remote. It is bezel-less, which LG does with their highest end monitors, and I love that. There's no logos. There's no chin, kind of like you can see to the right and left, because to the right of this monitor, I have one of LG's newest 24-inch 1080p monitors as my secondary PC display. And then to the left, I have an ultra-wide Dell monitor that I use for my stream computer, and the bezels are just not even close. I will say I personally think that the GP and the GN950B are better looking monitors, but overall, this monitor is gorgeous and it's built better than any monitor I've tested. There's no creaking, it doesn't feel plasticky, it feels like a premium monitor. That is unfortunately my biggest gripe with a lot of monitors. The Cooler Master had creaking and it felt very plasticky. The GP and GN950B felt very cheap. It was unfortunate. It's not a big deal because generally once people mount their monitors, they don't move them a lot. But obviously, since I do a lot of monitor reviews, I do move them a lot, so I do experience this often. Um, but this panel, like, it has the hexagon shape that they've been using for a while on their newest monitors on the back. It has that gamer aesthetic. If you don't love that, obviously it's not for you, but it is on the back of the monitor, so I don't know how much it matters. It does have RGB, and I will say it is very bright. It is bright enough that without my lights on, it illuminates the entire back wall, and you can change that between a ton of different colors, so that's cool. Or you can turn it off. You do not have to have it on, which is awesome. Um, so the next thing I want to talk about the OSD and the overall menu and how it looks and how it performs. First of all, this is the remote that is included with the display. It is a good looking remote. It functions well. I've had no issues with it. It does exactly what you need it to do, and it's nice that LG included it with the monitor. But it does come with a little bit of a caveat. This monitor does not have any buttons on the display itself. It has a single, or let me rephrase that. It doesn't have a joystick or buttons to navigate. It has a single button on the bottom of the unit that can turn it on, and you can change the input and the volume. You cannot adjust your settings. You can't do anything else. So you do need a remote to control 90% of the functionality of this monitor. But here's where the good news comes in. Let's say you lose this remote. I'm sure you could probably order a new one from LG, but if you don't want to do that, you can use any of at least the newer model LG TV remotes. In my drawer next to me, I have 3 different OLED remotes from older TVs and my current 2 OLEDs that I have in my house, and all 3 of them work. And I can adjust every setting with them because this monitor uses the same frequency as LG's TVs. Now, then that will also come with an issue. If you put this monitor in the same room as an LG TV, you are going to run into some issues. I have seen few people that have. Me personally, it's not a big deal. I have a separate stream room, so I only have monitors in here. And even when I did used to have a TV in here, it wouldn't be a big deal. So not a big deal for me. But the OSD, let's go ahead and get into it. And then I'm just going to zoom in a small bit so we can clearly see what I'm navigating. It has all the functions you could want on a monitor. You have your game modes, which are just kind of the different profiles you can switch between. It does have an sRGB mode if you're into that. I personally like oversaturated colors, so I chose gamer and just tweaked everything. You have your adaptive sync and then your other gamer features like your crosshairs. Adaptive sync works great. I've only tested G-Sync. Actually, let me rephrase that. So I have only tested G-Sync on my computer because I don't have an AMD GPU anymore. G-Sync works perfect. But I have used FreeSync on the Xbox and it worked as well. So it does work as it's intended. You have your picture settings, which are going to be your standard. It has everything you could need. The only thing that's missing for me that's kind of a bummer, LG has what's called super resolution, and it's kind of their algorithm for making images look clearer. It's like a super version of sharpness that I've always enjoyed. Sadly, this is the first monitor in a long time that I've used that's missing it. I wish it were here, but it's okay. We do have sharpness. You have your inputs. It does have an auto input switch, and I can thankfully say it works perfect. It switches between my PC to my consoles with no issue when I turn my PC on. If my Xbox is on, or when I turn my PC off, if my Xbox is on, it'll switch no problem, and vice versa. If I have it set to a DisplayPort and the TV's off and I turn on my Xbox, it'll turn on and automatically switch. Everything works in that regard, which is phenomenal because a lot of newer monitors, either that function is missing or it doesn't work correctly. And then last but not least, you do have all of your standard like language. Here's where you can adjust the lighting. Again, you can turn it off. Um, your user defined keys, which for me doesn't matter because I just use the standard remote settings. And then a really cool thing is this monitor does have a built-in DAC for your headphones. I haven't tested that yet, but it is awesome that they have that. So if you run the TV through your computer, you have a built-in DAC that you can use. So that's awesome. And I would be curious to see what people's thoughts are on that. And then you have your other, like your smart energy. I have that off. Deep sleep mode. I can thankfully say that when you turn it off, it does work. When I turn my computer off and I open it back up, icons and stuff don't move. So that's awesome. And then the last thing I want to touch base on in the OS settings before I get back into the rest of the review is input compatibility version. On PC, just leave this on 1.4 display stream compression. That's what you want it on. But if you are using this with a console, go into this and change it to, it'll say HDMI 2.1 AV and HDMI 2.1 PC. Set it to HDMI 2.1 AV, and that will allow you to use the upscaling on the Xbox Series X and the PlayStation 5, and that will give you all of the functionality from those consoles. So the Xbox will give you HDR, it'll give you that 4K upscaling, it'll give you all of the features that I thought at first were missing, and I was sad about that, but then I found that setting and now everything works perfect. HDR looks fantastic. I haven't tried it on Windows too much. I don't like Windows HDR, but it does look good on PlayStation and Xbox. And in terms of playing console games on this monitor, I've had a phenomenal time. So I'm going to go ahead and leave Call of Duty now. And then just kind of finish this review up. So as I'm sure you can tell from everything that I've gotten into, I have had a great experience with this monitor thus far. It does have a few issues that I'm going to touch base on real quick. First and foremost, the anti-glare coating. Let's just go ahead and tackle that. It is aggressive, and I don't like how aggressive it is. I don't mind anti-glare coatings. I prefer a matte finish on a monitor, but I think the best alternative is what Sony did with their Sony A90K, because it is still a glossy display with an anti-glare. It's not even anti-glare, it's anti-reflective coating. So it doesn't alter the image whatsoever, but the Sony has better reflection handling than, say, the C2. And then I also think that LG did a really good job with the anti-glare coating on the GP and the GN950B, because it was there. It certainly blocked a lot of reflections, but it wasn't thick and I didn't notice it while playing games. This, I notice while playing games, especially if there's a green or a light blue, I immediately notice it. It was actually the first thing I noticed when I turned the monitor on. I was like, oh wow, this is a thick anti-glare coating. It is thicker than what was on the GP27U, and it is somewhat similar to the coating that's on the G7 Neo. It is not nearly as thick as the G8 Neo by Samsung though. So that's, if it were that thick, I would not keep the monitor. That was atrocious. Now, the positive side of that, if you do not mind a matte coating, this thing is damn good at blocking reflections. I would go as far as to say it is the best monitor I've seen at handling reflections, because it blocks them so well, but it's not so aggressive that it ruins the image of games. So, you know, you're going to have to pick a battle with that. A lot of people just hate anti-glare, and then a lot of people don't care. If you don't care, it's totally fine. If you hate it, I don't want you to miss out on a phenomenal monitor, but if you hate anti-glare coatings, this might not be the monitor for you. So my second issue with this monitor, I don't know if it is a fan that is making the loud noise or if it is coil whine. It's really hard to tell with these monitors. I'm almost positive there's a fan in this monitor because there was a fan in the GP and the GN950B, and I don't see why there wouldn't be one in here so that they can cool the monitor when the brightness gets too high. But when I turn the monitor on, I hear a high-pitched whine, and I can hear that high-pitched whine over any low gaming, or if I'm listening to a video and it's not very loud, I can still hear that whine. And it doesn't go away until I turn the monitor off. So I have confirmed it's coming from in the monitor. I actually took a video behind the monitor showing it off. I reached out to LG and they were very unhelpful, which is unfortunate. So, um, sorry, I meant to zoom that back out. So that just kind of is what it is. It's not so unbearable that I'm willing to send it back and try another one. And the reason for that is my unit came perfect. Knock on wood. Great uniformity, no dead pixels, no damage to the display. So I'm willing to keep the monitor in hopes that that actually goes away, because I did have a GP97 or 950B that was loud and that noise went away eventually. So I'm hoping that's the case here. But that is going to be it for this review. This is a longer video, and while I did try to get it as low as possible, there's so much I wanted to talk about with this monitor that it just is what it is. But if you guys have any questions, please ask in the comments. If there's any monitors you guys would like to see in the future, let me know. I will go ahead and say I do plan on getting the new Asus and Acer 240Hz 1440p 27-inch monitors, just to compare the three, to see, you know, if the coding's any different, what features each has over the other. But as it stands, for $1,000, this is my monitor. I love it, and I will be using it for as long as nothing significantly better comes out. I hope you guys enjoyed this review. Thank you so much for watching. Have a fantastic day.
When you're tired of all the choices out there and you don't know what to do,